if you watch my last video, and the one before that, you know I'm in university studying games, because I'm a loser. And for one of my modules, I had to make 3 games. One was in Game Maker, which I did a previous video on. The second one was a group project work in Unity, which I got a nice A on. Here's a video of how fantastic this game is. And then 70% of my grade, I had to do a solo Unity project, that's this one. That's what this one's about. So, because I'm a masochist, or a sadist, I don't know which one's which, I decided that for my beginner level Unity project, I'd make a boss fight, because that's definitely something within my skill level. So I started off with some basic player movement, and these are placeholder sprites, but I did just keep them, because I kinda like them, and I don't get any extra marks for how good it looks. What I do get extra marks for is the fact that I used a state machine. And now, I've technically done a state machine before in my wheeled video, but that was a tutorial. I didn't know what I was doing. And I have to make 2 state machines here, one for the player and one for the boss. And that's just... I should have just used the built-in animator like Bracky's told me to, but I used like an enum, and I don't know what that means, but I used one, and it turned out pretty good, I think. Once things stopped floating off into the distance, which seems to be a curse for me at this point. But I did eventually get 3D movement working, which is what I was trying to do. It was just flying instead of moving forwards. I actually had a lot of trouble with the slide in particular, because the way it was coded it would only go left or right depending on which way you were facing, so I just shelved that till I had proper rotation working. I started messing around on some different camera angles. I downloaded Dark Souls Remastered actually to take inspiration from that, and it went through a bit of a trial period before I finally got one I liked, and I did find a tutorial for like a delayed camera lag thing, which looks kind of cool. I then tried to get rotation working, and while I do think the camera's cool here, it doesn't work. It didn't take the rotation into account in the movement, so A and D would be permanent directions and not relative to the camera, which was really annoying. Really annoying. The only thing that worked was the slide for once. I then finally got it working, and I do like the way I've done it. Basically, the rotation of the player sprite will only update when moving, and so you can like rotate around and it won't move with it. I thought that was quite cool. I'll probably reuse that for a different project down the line, because you know how much I love my 2D sprites in 3D environments. So I then did like basically the whole kind of foundation for the boss code in uni. So I didn't record it obviously, because I'm not going to install OBS and bring a microphone and start recording in the middle of a lab. As you can see, it's a little broken here, but how it should work is it will pick from 1 of 3 attacks, which I'll put on screen hopefully, and it'll teleport to the correct location, and well, right now it should have only played the animation. Then it'll teleport either back to the center or stay where it is, and then teleport to the location for the new attack. And it should obviously do that forever, but I just focused on making all the attacks work first, I guess. So the first thing I got was spawning quote-unquote rocks out of the sky that would then fall with like physics and stuff. And it took a bit to make it do more than one, and then it did more than one. But I fixed the issue and touched up the visuals with this nice red Taurus from Blender. And then I made the dash attack. And this was also the time when I made like a slight thing where I'd make a second phase when you did enough damage, even though you can't deal damage at the moment. Basically, more rocks, more dashes. And this actually worked. Now, I should probably address the elephant in the room. If you have been watching this channel for a while, or if you just scroll down and look at my old videos, I'll need to unlist at some point, you'll know that I'm maybe like Friday Night Funkin' Sonic.exe. And if you didn't know, actually, this was initially going to be a boss fight based on Rerun UST Episode 4 Chainbreaker by DJ Awesome. But I've scrapped that and just kind of kept the basics of their designs, because I really wasn't drawing or modeling all that, you know? But, so, it says Squeako and DS in the file names, but it doesn't need to. It's not important, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to advertise it as I turned Chainbreaker into a boss fight, because it's really just not that. But I do need to be transparent with my inspirations. But regardless, other than that, the game's actually looking pretty good. It actually looks like a game, you know? Well, it's starting to. Whoa, is that UI? When did that happen, am I right, guys? But also, basically the boss gets 3 charges, and then in phase 2 it gets 6 charges, and that's just how many attacks it can use before it goes into like a weakened state where you deal more damage, which you still can't do yet. Also, you may see here, there is a secret third attack, which was supposed to be like the boss would like slam his arms down, and then in second phase he'd slam them and then spin around the arena. But I just never got around to implementing it. It's just, he just does the animation. I also got like a little health system working, and all it does is it restarts the loop. Because like Chainbreaker is about breaking the loop. Hashtag break the loop. It's basically, it was just a cheap way of not having a game over or a start screen. It's just a loop. I then finally added a way to both shoot and reload. I mean, obviously the shooting didn't work, but it would take a bullet and then you could reload. But yeah, took me long enough. Then got some god awful camera aim thing. Like, Jesus, look at this. Is this not the worst thing you've ever seen? Oh my god. I fixed the gun thing, obviously, kind of a little bit, and then all that was left to do was add sound effects. That was all, and background music. That's all that was needed left in the brief. So I just robbed the free Deltarune sound effects Spriter's resource for sound effects. That was it. That's all I'd done. So please enjoy the product that I submitted to my university. truly a masterpiece, and that's it, actually. I wanted to finish this, I did, but honestly that's the reason this video's taken so long, is because I kept putting off finishing the game, so I couldn't make the video if the game wasn't finished, and then so I've decided just to shelve it. I'm not going to release it in this state, but I'm not going to finish it, at least not anytime soon anyway, and by the time I want to finish it I'd be much better and there'd be no point, I'd probably just have to remake it, and I think that's good. I think it's important to do things not to completion but for the sake of learning, and oh wait, no, I'm not supposed to be smart. Friday Night Funkin'! Yeah!